We are in for a treat today, everybody. We are here with a woman that knows no boundaries. We've seen her in many incarnations, Cousin Pam, Maxine Shaw, but now Erika Alexander is here as the producer of a new documentary on John Lewis called Good Trouble. How are
Good
you?
trouble. Hi, Chuck. I'm good. I'm good. I'm obviously tech challenged, but other than that, I'm good.
It's okay. We got it done. We got it done. Um, First of all, it's good to see you again. I don't know if you remember, we all were having a lot of fun, but at the premiere of the Wu-Tang series in New York
Oh,
City. So,
yeah.
yeah, fun night, fun night. But first of all, I know you're really on a serious press run, but tell us about this documentary, what makes it special and unique and different from other incarnations and visualizations we've seen about Mr. John Lewis.
Well, John Lewis is an American hero and icon. There's very few people that can dispute that. He showed us on that Edmund Pettus bridge what he was about. He's been in SNCC as one of the students that went down to the South and fought for our voting rights and the right to vote. And to this day, he's been arrested more than 45 times for the beliefs that he holds. And he believes that in America, that civil rights is the cornerstone and the security that our democracy is based on. So what makes this different is that this is about his life. He's usually seen next to Martin Luther King or Bobby Kennedy or any of those other really big American figures. But people, I don't think, knew about him and his life and how he got here as a congressman and his family and his wife, things like that. So that's the difference. It's his story. He's in the spotlight.
So who all did you speak to in addition to him, and what revelations might we find or see that we might not have known before?
We spoke to many of his colleagues in Congress, from Nancy Pelosi to AOC, to like that, people who know him best and who have worked with him in Congress to move legislation. We've also spoke to his son um, um, and talk about his wife. His wife has passed, and his
Mhm.
brothers and sisters. He's one of 12 children. You get to go see him down in Alabama on their land while he feeds the chicken. He has a famous story about feeding the chickens as a boy and wanting to go to school and not be a sharecropper and running away and getting on the bus so he could go learn. And his brother, who was older, saying, "Let him go. I'll do his work share for him." So you hear
Right.
things like that, but you also get to see his run with Julian against Julian Bond in Atlanta, and
Hmm.
you get to see that he's an art collector and things
Right.
like that, personal things. But I think
Mm-hmm.
mostly you get to see picture and archive of him watching himself and his the
Hmm.
lens through seeing his life trans ported back to him. So I think that this is a really wonderful lesson for people who don't know what it was like back in the day. For many people who are talking about not voting or feeling like this type of thing is an alternative, they need to see that there was blood and there was murder and all sorts of other things sacrificed. So
Hmm.
people could just walk up to a simple ballot box and vote.
Right. What about the context? Today, we're seeing that a lot has not changed in America for Black people, and he's one of the few that can really put that into context.
Hmm.
Have you been able to offer or see any insight that he may be able to give us some context to this whole thing in 2020?
Yes, I think the biggest context is you see that history and change is slow. It's it's a marathon, and a lot of people who think these things happen overnight, they don't. It's called legislation. And people need to know that the voting thing doesn't come up every 4 years for presidents. All politics is local, and you see this man doing the work, showing up for other people, supporting candidates that align with his views, making sure that he shows up, and you see how long he's shown up.
Yeah.
His steps. He's an older man and he's in great shape, or was then. He's been after this, he was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. But he's been everywhere fighting for this, and I think that that's important for people to see, because I think people do very little in order to, and they don't understand how you get clean water or your trash gets picked up, and they complain about everything. And I said, did you do the simple thing of voting for your
Right.
school board? Do you know that you can vote for your chief of police? All these things, and they don't vote, and then they complain. And so I think that we need to learn that civics lesson, that it is a contact sport, and you got to
Right.
be engaged, you got to read. And I think it's important for people start to take ownership and responsibility for their decisions to do it or not to do it.
Definitely. And I absolutely wanted to ask you, and I mean, he's in our prayers daily. How is he mentally right now? How is he physically even?
Well, Chuck, I'm sure it's difficult for him. He's, you know, those, I call him a true OG, not the
Yeah.
street OG, the real OG. Some people who really had to deal with adversity and suffer through some things and put their own life in danger for other people. For a person who's done all that, this diagnosis is what he eats for breakfast. He's gonna get up every
Yeah.
day and he's gonna do the thing. But it can't be easy for him. He has good and bad days. He has great weeks and bad weeks. You saw him, I don't know, a couple of, I think it was last week or the week before, on Black Lives Matter Boulevard with his mask.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first times
Yeah.
he's ever gone out, but he wanted to make sure that the young people knew that he was with them, that he
Yeah.
understood what they were doing overall was a good thing. And that's an
Yeah.
iconic photo now, and he's able to, that lifts his spirit. So let's
Mm-hmm.
just hope, Chuck, that for our own sake, that he's doing well, because he deserves not to suffer and to
Yeah.
recover as best he can.
Yeah. Well, I hope he's proud of us because we're continuing the fight in his honor as well as many others.
He is. He
Yeah.
is very proud. By the
Good.
way, he loves young people. Absolutely. Especially black men. Because I
Mm.
don't know if we are as engaged as we need to be with black men. So many are feeling so disassociated from the
Mm.
process. But that's up to black men to come into the process and reclaim it. For
Yeah.
whatever reason that it turned them off or numbed them,
Mm.
they must see that, especially with all the black men getting shot in the streets and also in jail and their families at risk, that the only way to change this is away from taking up arms, is
Yeah. Yeah.
to vote and be in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I have some theories behind that, but that's a whole nother conversation. Another another.
I bet you do. I bet you
Yeah.
do. I hope you run for office so you can put your theories into work. So, because
They
that would be good.
they trying to get me to. I'm like, I don't know. Politics are dirty. Politics
No,
are
politics are dirty. Politicians are dirty. Politics are very
true.
clean, because
Mm.
if John Lewis tells us anything, is that good people are there. We need
Right.
more good people to run, and we need more people to be less cynical about it, because there really are great things happening. I see every day in my neighborhood and inside of California, which is moving forward on environmental protections, moving forward on education, not reform, but restructuring and the destructuring of what they've done. I see it happening. The problem
Yeah.
is that there's people who do believe that politics matter, and they run, and they have horrible, horrible ideas. It's They're not doing it against you. They're just doing what they believe. But I
Right.
believe, Chuck, that if you really are one of those people in the community that people trust, and they see you up there trying to move the dial, sure, it may seem like it's not moving, but just your very face, it
Hmm.
gives them a whole other thing about the possibilities. And I do
Yeah.
believe that politics can be different and difficult, and you can change the process. But I believe that you would be one of the people we need. I'm just saying. I'm putting it
I,
out there, brother.
well,
Call me when you're ready to run.
all right, all right. I'll let you know. And if you run, I'll vote for you too, for sure.
Okay, love.
Yeah,
I
because
if I
you've been
run,
putting it down.
I'm gonna need you to come help me, and you do all the work, and I'll take the credit.
All right, cool. I'll be the minister
You
of information.
the minister of, yes, a minister of all that. You look
Right.
really good, so I know I get a lot of votes.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now I know your time is limited, but I wanted to ask you just a couple things about your own career. Um, I wanted to. I know this might seem like a small thing, but it's not a small thing. It's not a small thing at all. But you were very vocal about Friends kind of copycatting off of uh you know, living single. It was a bite. It was jacked. And I hate Friends, by the way. Let me tell you, I and this is before I knew anything about that. I just hated it. I despised it because of the fact that the show really, it was super duper white. And I worked in a corporate environment at the time, and it just reminded me of all the people I worked with.
Mm.
But I've been speaking out a lot about just systemic racism, and I think that Friends is an unfortunate byproduct of systemic racism on one level, which is Hollywood or the TV. However, do you feel as though as you're a pioneer in that respect too, kind of leading the charge and highlighting these inequities or differences or biases?
Well, Chuck, as we discussed your run in the community, I think that I put it upon myself to try to be a truth teller where I can. I'm in an industry that I've made my living from. I'm very grateful and fortunate for the opportunities that have come to me, but I've also experienced and seen after 37 years, you're right, systemic bias, racism, um, gender, sexism, ageism, geography bias, all the way through this industry. It conspires silently to keep those out of power through the representation, through the studio, C suites, all of that. And when people want to boycott the Oscars, I say, why? That movie started years ago. You would have to really go to the not the end user, but the people who precede these things in order to change the relationship between the color line and the way they think about film and television and our stories. So here's the thing about the Friends thing. I hadn't signed up to be a mouthpiece for that. I just said what I felt was true, that David Schwimmer, when he was talking about maybe one day there being all Black friends and or all Asian friends, he did not know that the year before he was ever on the same studio, Warner Brothers, that we had already been the template for him.
Mm.
And I was just stating it as a matter of fact, not to blow the brother up or anything like that. I know, he's a really wonderful actor, and I actually do enjoy the show. But I want him to see that, and I think that that discussion, what it really set off was that people had, not people, our people, Black people, have always been frustrated and this downright angry about our the fact that when it's done with white faces, it can get so much more marketing and play and even be called the original. When it's done with a black face, it's not even seen, it's not even acknowledged. So that's what it set off. It set off, century long of us being disabused of being pioneers and or even visible. So
Yeah, yeah.
tell the truth, shame the devil.
Right. Facts, facts.
I'm
So,
gonna I'm having to go soon,
all
Chuck,
right,
because I want to come. Can I come back and do this again?
I gotta ask you, Cousin Pam or
Sure.
Maxine?
Don't be mad, cousin Pam people, but Maxine.
All good,
I didn't
all
know what I
good.
was doing on the Cosby Show yet, and I was glad to get the gig and everything. But no, it
Yeah,
was much more fun to play Maxine. Although I got to give props to Pam because she went to college and did her thing, and
yeah.
it was really fun to be a part of that iconic show. But every day, all day, Max.
Okay, okay. Any update on the Wu-Tang show before we let you go?
Oh, waiting for the COVID thing to stop and
Okay.
get it ongoing. We have a season two that we did get a. We've been re-upped. We
Yeah.
like everybody else, we're on hold.
All right, all right.
Maybe we should go on all hip hop all the time with you, Chuck, and start to do our do
Let's do
table
it.
reading. Do table reading.
Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
I could do a mean you God. I know he wasn't on there. I
Oh,
got
you'd be awesome. Yeah, that's actually
yeah.
not.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. That's
I'm a
what's
little
up.
dark though. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, hey, let me tell you
Work it
something.
out.
Jeffrey Wright played Martin Luther King. It ain't about color. It's about content. It's about content. It's
Right,
about
facts, facts, facts. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see this whole documentary. I'm gonna share it with everybody. Spread the word. He
please.
deserves to be honored. I was
Yes.
privileged to meet him at the White House, and I about lost my mind when I saw him. So
Thank you.
yeah,
He'll
definitely.
appreciate that you standing up for him. Thank you,
Yeah,
brother.
for sure, for sure. Thank you and salute.
Salute. Take
Peace.
care.